Hello, namaste, and welcome to Agile Exploration Hub. I am your host Nagesh Deshpande. In today's episode of Talks with Deshpande ji, we are bringing another new episode, new topic, new discussion. So, in today's topic, we are going to discuss about agile matrices and how we can measure success with it. To discuss on this topic, we have a new guest, Jayaram Hegde. And so, about Jayaram, is a seasoned enterprise agile coach. He's a ICF certified coach, as well as he's having this industry experience worth 2 decades almost now. So let's welcome Jairam.
Thanks, Nagesh. Thanks for having me. Good evening.
How are you doing?
Good, good. How are you?
I'm good. Yes, enjoying. Good. Okay, so summer holidays are almost finished now. Schools are going to start.
Yeah. Busy,
And
busy days again. Yeah,
busy days again. Yes, yes, yes. Okay.
yeah,
So Jairam and me met, I guess, almost 5 years ago in Bangalore in one of the conferences. Since there, we are connected. We even interacted. Most often, we interacted on LinkedIn, and now recently through Agile Exploration Hub, we are interacting again. So, Jairam, let's get on with the today's episode and today's discussion.
sure.
And so the first thing that I really want to understand, when do you first realize that the metrics can help agile growth? So everyone
Mhm.
here, to all my audience, is looking or seeking growth in their agile career. But
Yeah,
now, how as a team or organization or as an individual can seek growth via agile metrics?
yeah. First of all, this is a fascinating topic, right? So
Hmm.
often when I hear people want to move from one traditional ways of working to agile ways of working, or for that matter, any specific framework in agile, right? So they often get hooked up as to, okay, yeah, how we can measure the success. How can we have certain measurements in place for us to understand, okay, how are we doing?
Hmm.
Are we getting better? Right? So, so for from my experience, so I come from a development background. So I've been working in Agile since 2013. So yeah, when I was transitioning from traditional ways of working to Agile ways of working, so even in my engagement, what we saw as a primary ways of understanding the progress and the growth was mainly around the customer
Hmm.
satisfaction, right? Or the customer experience, right? So often if you look at from a traditional ways of working, we just go about delivering whatever is listed as a scope of work. And
Right.
yeah, as long as it is meeting the timeline, in most of the cases, that's how we measure the success as, right? But you have to flip the coin when it comes to the non-traditional ways of working. I'll not say agile ways of working, non-traditional ways of working. However, the thing that uh, gives you an opportunity to uh, encounter some different aspects is how you address the problems, how you address the customer problems in a quicker time. So my experience with metrics has been more around that. Okay, how the experience has been customer is getting improved, and during that time, how your employees are feeling about it, whether they are
Right.
feeling good,
Right.
whether they are feeling stressed out, whether they are feeling okay, not motivated at all, right? So for me, when I look from my experience, I realize metrics in terms of agile growth is both in the customer front as well as in the employees or the peers that we work
People.
with, right? So
Yeah.
people.
The people.
So
Yeah. Hmm.
correct, yeah. So my experience has been more around that first to start with.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think the moment we touched on customer satisfaction or improvement in the customer experience from quarter on quarter or maybe month on month, how the improvement is being uh, looked at, what are the areas that we are incorporating from the customer experience on our day-to-day work life, and how the employees are treating that experience to be, whether they are seeing any difference in the way they operate, or the way they actually interact with customer, or the way they uh, try to solve the problems in a different way, right? So
Right.
both aspects, both from the customer as well as employee angle, more on the people front to start. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I also started working in waterfall, old ways of working, and I still remember those days. Now I remember. Now I can relate the current era, where we are oftenly seeing nowadays on LinkedIn, burnout, is your team burnout, and all that. So why these things are coming out? Burnout word is coming out because some people or some leaders or maybe some coaches are using these metrics to understand whether these teams or people are burning out. So
Mhm.
let's continue the discussion. uh, Now, what kind of metrics do you see teams uses in the early stage? So let's say I'm starting a
Yeah.
greenfield project, maybe a new team, something like that.
Mhm. Yeah, so like I mentioned, so when it comes to metrics or measurement, right? So
Mm,
you can apply them at a different levels of the organization.
mm,
Uh, to start with, you can go with the team level. However, when you look at from a metrics perspective, so one thing which one abbreviation that I always try to connect with is, what do you mean by metrics? It shouldn't
mm,
be something that saying, okay, yeah, 10 number of defects reported in this sprint, or 20 defects getting closed within 1 month, right? Just,
right.
just not that number. It is about it's about the indicator, the behavior that it is going to drive. It should
Mm,
drive something, drive some experience, drive some behavior in people, whether it can be internal within the organization, or it can be something directly touching upon the customer or the users who are using your product,
mm, mm,
right? So one thing which catches my eye, and this is something one of my ex-colleague was always mentioning, what do you mean by metrics? Measure something, measure that results in customer satisfaction, right? It's not the actual definition of metrics, but it closely connects with me, because unless it is touching upon the experience of customer, maybe you are measuring something which is not required at all,
agree.
right?
Absolutely agree.
Right. So it might be leading to some kind of experience, but it may not be directly connecting with what customer is expected you to do, right? So from when I look from that perspective, for any new team or any new organization, right? So they can look at measurement of at a different levels. Obviously, organization, however, the way the organization is structured, there are certain levels in the
Mm,
organization which we have to admit. We can't have a flat structure, at least at this point in time, when there are geographically distributed teams. Organization has a different way of managing their workforce. So you will have certain hierarchy for sure. But yeah, what we need to look at is, okay, how we can minimize it. So in any organization for that matter, I would look the metrics as primarily at a team level, and maybe somewhere in the middle layer, which connects to multiple integration of programs, or multiple teams who are actually coming together on delivering something, right? More from
right.
a experience standpoint, right? Like you have back end, front end, and then you have full stack coming in. You have something like compliance and other enabler of the organization, right? Without which you can't sell your product, like sales, marketing, all that. So without which you can't sell your product,
Right.
right? So you will have core product development team, or you can call it as product operations team, and then you will have obviously the enabler team, like sales marketing, HR, and all that
Right.
enablement function. And then you will obviously have a CXO and the executives, right? So you,
Executive. C.
you
C.
can
C.
see,
Mm.
yeah, correct,
Mm.
C-suite. So you will have probably at least two to three level metrics that can be measured
Mm.
for a team who's starting new, right?
Mm.
Obviously, you need to understand how they are applying certain principles, how they are applying certain practices. Does the role getting matured,
Right.
getting better with every passing day, right? So you may be having product owner specific um, set of guidelines, which we see. One thing which often we see is the moment anything you start newly, define some checklist, right?
Mm. Right.
So right, so it's a human behavior because
Mm.
we don't want to say, yeah, I'm not doing great because I'm not meeting those checklists, right?
Mm.
However, when you look at from a agile setup, be it Scrum, be it Kanban or any other framework, they are very uh, they are not very specific about roles, how they need to collaborate, but they provide you some guidance how you can
Right.
do it, right?
Right.
So even Scrum, they started with the other roles and responsibility initially. Then they come with a word called accountability, right? So
Accountability.
you need to own certain things. So until and unless they come together, you can't do it. So in short, so you can have role specific guidelines set
Mm-hmm.
up. What are the bare minimum things that you need to do to ensure the collaboration happens in a team? Okay, where you have more accountability in terms of what you need to do, like how you follow planning, or how
Right.
you actually get involved in the review, how you get involved in each and every day development process, right? So all these things can be defined at certain roles. So from my experience, what I have seen is when you start a new team, define specific roles and responsibility related checks, okay, to
Mm.
guide the team. Okay, yeah, these are the bare minimum things, like you have DOR, DOD, and all, right? So when you have something like an artifact level, from the deliverable standpoint, why can't you have it at a role specific? So because roles also need to use, right? So you can have role specific. Maybe you can have red, amber, green as a indicator to start with. Okay, what you are
Right.
not doing, what you are doing, but it can be improved, and what is something which you are doing, and there are probably not much opportunity for you to improve. Yeah, you can define red, amber, green the way you want, right?
Right.
But yeah, traditionally you can have red, amber, green kind of a thing, and you can also have a, a consolidated team maturity assessment, kind of a check on what kind of practices that you follow from
Mm-hmm.
your deliverable standpoint, right?
Right.
And how does your day-to-day interaction patterns looking like? Okay, is customers are involved in your review or in planning? So
Right.
simple thing that you can start with is apply to the Agile Manifesto, core values and 12 principles, right? Apply to that. How close are you? How close your team is in terms of meeting those principles and values? Do they see any gap? So you can probably mark the progress on red, amber, green. Or in some places, we also look at as aspect like, okay, you would have heard about it, baby crawls.
Right.
Then it starts to once the leg starts developing, it walks, then run.
Right.
Then if there is an opportunity, obviously it will like to fly, right? So you can define crawl, walk, run, fly as another thing, right? So you can apply those kind of metaphors.
Mm.
But yes, when it comes to team, you can have principles and values as one of the parameter. You can have the kind of technical practices that they follow, like TDD, BDD, pair programming, and
Mm-hmm.
CI/CD, all those things, and also interaction with other set of teams? And how does your dependency work? How does your artifacts like DOR and DOD getting improved,
Right.
right? And are you showcasing your product every every sprint? Or if you're not able to develop every sprint, then what is your interaction pattern with customers? So you
Right.
can embed all that.
Yes, you
And
you can analyze your feedback loop, like you
yeah,
said.
yeah,
Analyze what is your feedback loop, what things being discussed after or during any feedback sessions that you are having with your customers. Okay.
yeah,
So to summarize everything, I will say, measure what matters right now.
true.
Whatever you currently, you need not to try or experiment too many things. Start like Jairam said, start with small steps, small things.
Mhm.
And again, apply your checks on that. So, and then take action accordingly. So sorry to
Yeah.
cut you short, but this is the things that I wanted to add on what Jairam said. Next question that we can discuss. uh, so it happens, right? People don't see the things. Black box are there, somewhere, like there's a curtain on something,
Mm.
but then we brought a matrix and then suddenly some more people say, oh, is it like this? So this kind of experience, have you seen, like open someone's eye with the matrix, is not open eye, but giving that realization that, oh, things are different than what we are assuming from the outside.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, yeah, yeah. It happens many times, right? So I'll just take a recent example. Uh,
Mm.
right. So we were having conversation with some of the VPs in the organization,
Mm.
and they are the portfolio leads, right? And they were having a notion that the
Mm.
or throughput of deliverables every quarter on quarter
Right.
is not great. I mean, they are not increasing the throughput, but they're more or less maintaining the same number, right?
Yes. Yeah. Mm.
And when I started analyzing the data, what I've seen interesting thing is the throughput is not going up, though they have some additional teams or capacity available to them, is because they are having the quarter on quarter bugs in the non-production region,
Mm.
especially in integration, is significant
Okay.
in last couple of quarters. So when we started looking at the pattern, it seems to be connecting to certain teams who has more features in their backlog to
Mm.
deliver, but there are often spillovers from one quarter to another quarter because their SIT timeline shifted or UAT has not happened on time, right? So we brought the connection to throughput to quality,
Mm-hmm.
because the moment they look at quality, it is a separate view, right? It's no longer connected to your core deliverables. That's how they look at it. But when it comes to
Mm.
throughput is the number of work items that you deliver in a
Right.
specific period of time, right? Whether it can be sprint or a quarter, you define the timeline. Now, I'm not able to deliver more, though I have the capacity, more capacity, because I have more bugs to fix. My capacity is being consumed more there. When I have less capacity to complete actual work, obviously I will encounter issues.
Mm.
Now, on top of that, if I encounter any dependencies, forget about getting that commitment meet, right? I'm using the commitment because this is something which they said, okay, yes,
We
we
will
can
do
do
it.
it. We
Mm.
can do it.
Mm.
We can do it and we'll do it because we have been doing it in the past, right? So this is
Right.
the confidence that they have shown. Yeah, call it connect quality to what you are doing day in, day out. The moment when we did that, they're like, okay, can we understand which teams are
Hmm.
facing these issues?
Right.
And maybe we'll have that focused conversation with the PO and other members of the team and understand, okay, yeah, what we can do better. Is it specific to that squad or is it specific to entire release train that we're operating, right? So yeah, obviously, this is one thing which I wanted to take this example because quality is something often neglected, right?
Right.
And
Right.
it is looked as one of the parameter which is standalone compared to all other delivery specific metrics.
Great.
Yeah.
Great story. Yeah. So now, like working with teams, I observed, even as
Mm,
a new Scrum Master, even now as an experienced Scrum Master, when we talk with the teams and we talks about these, pretty typical matrices like burn down chart, burn up chart, committed versus completed, and then like you mentioned about the defect or the story point completed or defects. Fixed, raised, and fixed, all these things. Sometimes teams or people feel overwhelmed because of this.
mm, mm.
They say, "Yeah, Nagesh, these are too many things to understand and track and to maintain this."
Yeah.
How you can make feel them comfortable around these things?
Yeah. So, one thing is not to enforce many items on them. Keep it
Mm.
minimal, right?
Right.
When it comes to team, what are the primary indicators which team is doing good, or which or there are problems with the delivery? You probably look at the lead time or the cycle time
Cycle time.
of
Yeah.
of your deliverables within the sprint, right? What is the spillover percentage sprint on sprint is looking like, right? And that will give you an indication, right? Maybe my team is working on items which cannot be done in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever your sprint cycle is, right? And maybe there are some dependencies which they are not accounting when they are planning the work. Maybe my DOR need to be better, or the DOD is not stringent, right? Both are possible. And then come to the predictability angle. Okay, are we having planned versus actual
Right.
predictability
Predictability.
improvement? Is it
Yes.
happening? Is it happening? I'm not bringing velocity anywhere here. Okay, so velocity is just an indicator.
Right.
So you know, okay, you are delivering certain things, okay? Provided you have the same capacity, then velocity is expected to be more or less same, plus or minus 5%, whatever it is. But yeah, it's just an indicator, right? It's not saying any story. But another thing that obviously which teams need to look at, it's not something which feeling like okay, they are overwhelmed, is their release frequency.
Mm.
How frequently they are releasing. Is it once in a month, once in a sprint? On top of it, if some production issue comes up, how soon they are able to resume the service? If you have heard about DORA metrics, I think that's
Dora.
one of the vital set of metrics which any team who are serious about improving their quality can look at. DORA metrics on the deployment frequency and how quickly you are able to resume your service. Mean time to restore is what we call. So these two, along with some of the predictability, like what is your sprint on sprint plan versus actual is looking like, how does the spillover rate is actually getting maintained, and yes, what are the number of or you can look at the defect trend from sprint on sprint.
Trends. Yes.
Again, if the number is getting increased,
There is a problem.
there's
Yes.
something wrong, right?
There's something wrong.
So
Yeah.
obviously we see when it is close to SIT, you see more,
More. Yes.
but when it is in probably in staging or somewhere, you feel less. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good, good that you brought Dora. metrics reference here. To my
Yeah.
audience, if you know already about Dora, please share your comments about Dora, your experience, your learnings. If you haven't heard about Dora, you're listening for the first time, go and read about it, and share your learnings with us. How you feel, how it is different, or what different things Dora can help doing you. So let's move on. And now that we came to where team v- don't feel, or we are making them comfortable with these metrics, we also want to see that how teams misuse them, and
Mm.
if they misuse them, what happens?
Yeah. More than teams, I think the experience that I have is when they get accustomed to one specific ways of working, right?
Hmm. Right.
So I've seen teams where they're looking at, yeah, planned versus actual, all these spillovers and all is fine. They are not even looking at revisiting the DOR, TOD,
Right.
right? It is
Hmm.
written, it is treated like something written on the stone, right?
Hmm.
I'm dependent on them, okay? Unless unless that wireframe is ready by my PO, I'll not start.
Right.
Or my test environment, unless it is available, I cannot do anything. So what I will do, I'll not pick up that story at all,
Hmm.
right? So these are some of the patterns where people think that, okay, things are happening, fine. We don't, there are some constraints. Let's not worry about the constraint because this is how my organization is, or this is how my specific department is, right? So
Right.
don't worry about it, right? And in most of the cases, it's also the way management is looking at
Exactly.
the teams,
Exactly.
right?
Right.
What kind of behavior that team is following? Are they seeing any of these issues, right? If they are not able to attend any of the retrospection or the plannings, forget about they understanding to what people are going through, right? So maybe people would have highlighted this in some forum, but management was clueless about, okay, what is this all about? No, I think
Hmm.
this is how it is. We don't have any funding, so let's not worry about having another testing environment. Forget about it because we have to run with only one testing environment, right? So I've seen it's not more about teams not misusing it. They're not trying to push their limits, right?
Hmm.
So go to that extra mile uh, in saying, okay, no, this is where things can become nasty. We need help, right? And at times I've seen POs and Scrum Masters are not vocal enough to address this.
Right.
It has been reported in multiple sprint retros. We are seeing, okay, there are spillovers every now and then connected to the same issue, but yes, we are not taking any action, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah. So to summarize this thing, I can see that teams are not going extra mile. PO Scrum Masters are not vocal about it. I even seen the gaps in the management. Also, management is trying to use these metrics in a different way.
yeah,
They are trying to qua- you know quantify it rather than putting it on quality, like you already mentioned in previous discussion, that they are quantifying it, like how many story points are delivered, or how much
mm,
work has been, or hours, number of hours completed, which doesn't make any sense. But now these things do happens in our industry, and
yeah,
that's why we are discussing all these things. Okay. Now, you in one of the discussions you did mention about the teams are becoming more mature in agile. Can you
mm,
give me some of the signs that teams are becoming mature?
mm. Yeah. Some of the signs that indicate teams are becoming better. uh, is when the obviously some of these deliverables are key items, right?
Hmm.
Like okay, with like the predictability is getting improved, or they're able to have a better success rate in
Right.
terms of the releases. So, right?
Right.
So number of release failures are less. They're able to hit. They're able to do the code commits every now and then. The code commit is one of the good example to show okay, yeah, the the changes are frequently happening, right? They are able to
Right.
maintain the changes. Uh, that is one code commit. You can look at it. You can look at obviously the lead time. If the lead time
Right.
is getting in and around the sprint cycle, then that means either the sizing of the story has been better of late,
Right.
or they're looking at aligning the dependencies much better compared to the past, right? And they are also having better control on maybe the the deliverable. They have a better view of the acceptance criteria. They know what is the scope of work that I'm going to work on, right?
Mhm.
So, so there is one very good statement from Jeff Patton, who is the user story mapping author. He says, requirement never changes, it grows with the time,
Right. Right.
right? So, so with time, the understanding of when you have the understanding of the process, you can treat that better way so that okay, you are vocal about some of these things and you are able to fix it then and there. So one, your predictability improves, your efficiency on the deliverable. You can see okay, there are more code commits, there are more opportunity for you to hit the production because you are
Right.
able to get things done at least in non-prod environment, because you know okay, when the release window is available for me, I can go live, right? So those are some of the indicators, especially at a team level, right? And
Right.
another thing which I can definitely call about is the way they turn up in the team specific events.
Right.
They
Yes.
huddle together. They huddle together. And one example which I can talk about is if stand up becomes monotonous, that is an indicator that okay, yeah, something is wrong, right?
Something is wrong.
If
Yes.
they start, if in stand up they talk about more on the issues that they want to fix than their standard updates on okay, what has
Updates.
been done and where I'm stuck. When they're ready to discuss more about the issues which they want to resolve,
Right.
that's an indicator they're getting
That's
better.
right.
They're getting better.
Yeah. So I want to add here, the team events that you are mentioning, so I will also understand the maturity of team by looking at their psychological safety in these events. Like you mentioned in daily scrum, people are, talking about their progress,
Mm,
how things can make working. Another thing is asking right question, even the team member asking each other right question, and the discussion is going towards your product goal. That makes sense, where your maturity is increasing. Another
yeah,
place where you can check is retrospective, where team is, instead of blaming each other, can bring out the small wins and talk about or share about it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So these are some of the indicators where you can feel your teams are mature. Even you will see the more cleaner code, more cleaner updates
yeah,
on your stories. Like he
yeah.
mentioned, more code commits. Okay, reducing cycle time. So earlier, so like, uh, take an example. In the very first or second sprint, a team or two people, entire team or set of people can take x number of hours to complete
Mm,
that work.
mm,
But as the maturity grows, that x number of hours will reduce to something. if
true.
if it is happening with the quality improved, that's where you can, you know start telling yourself the team is going towards the maturity. So
Yeah,
great. These are some of the good indicators that these indicators may not be put it on a paper or on a dashboard, but
true.
these can be well understood, and you can showcase it in your um, uh, in your forums in our organization. So moving on
See,
today itself. Yeah,
one
yeah,
thing to
yeah,
add
yeah. Go
there,
ahead, go ahead. Yeah,
right?
go ahead.
So
Yeah.
I was telling the same thing
Hmm.
in one of our previous conversation, right?
Right,
The
right,
behavior pattern, if it is changing for the right reasons, yes,
right.
they are moving the needle,
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
if the behavior pattern goes on to saying negative things, blame games,
yeah,
commenting, questioning in a negative manner, that's not a good healthy sign. But even if a person asking tough questions which is going to improve your product, that's a good sign. So understand, connect the dots, or read between the lines, whatever you want to say it.
yeah,
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 that's it. Okay, so great discussion so far. Let's move on to the last question of the day, Jairam.
sure.
So now there are, so my viewers, majority viewers, who wants to, either they
Mm,
have recently start their journey or who wants to start their journey as a agile professionals. So
mm,
what kind of advices will you give setting up agile matrices? And I get commonly, I get this question, Nagesh, will
mm,
you help me to set up my Jira board and dashboards and
mm,
all that?
mm.
So in short, they want to set up a matrix, but they don't know how to do it. So maybe two or three advices for such,
Yeah,
such viewers.
sure, sure. See, one thing is, it is not what you want to do,
Hmm.
right? Always mindful about what they like you to do.
Right.
Okay? Focus that aspect first. You are not there to follow your ego, but you are there to solve their problems, your
Right.
customer problems, right? So, first and foremost, try to calm yourself down, try to understand the landscape, where they are, right? At least, even if it takes about a sprint, but try to observe how they are doing, how their regular conversations happening within the team, and any conversation that is need to happen outside the team, how they are participating, how that conversation is driven. Do you see any kind of behavioral pattern, like I was mentioning about, yeah, maybe there are some conflicts,
Conflicts. Yeah.
because
Hmm.
every team goes through forming, storming, norming, performing, that
Hmm.
which the Tuckman model
Tuckman
for
model.
the
Yeah.
maturity, right?
Hmm.
So every team goes through that, and in some teams it might be that, okay, some of those stages might be there for a longer time because of team changes, attrition, all that thing, right? So try to calm yourself down first, observe what's happening on the ground, how they are trying to have these conversations, and more importantly, ensure the the PO and the Scrum Master, if you are in a Scrum team setup, they are the ones who are the key pillars to drive the show, right? To the success of the team, they are the ones who drive the show. Ensure PO and Scrum Masters, they are having the mindset of continuous improvement and not something which they can rub the shoulders with others, right? Okay,
Right.
no, this is not my cup of a tea, right?
Hmm.
Any feedback, any suggestions, they should be vocal. If they are not ready to do it, yeah, I think you can try for certain time, but it may not land well in a long run. So one tip: observe what's
Observe.
happening.
Right.
Take time, observe, then note down your observation. Okay, and maybe, if possible, and you have that opportunity, facilitate a retro, impromptu retro, not a sprint retro, impromptu retro, to connect on people, process, and the capability, right? How do they look at it? Because team is all about these three: people, process, capability, right? Tool is outside of this. Don't bring tool into this. People, process, capability, right?
Hmm.
Look at it
Hmm.
and try to see what that conversation is heading towards, right? Note down your pointers, note down your observations, bring that story together, more importantly, with the data of past few sprints or past few weeks, whatever, whichever is available with you, to share. And yes, then that's where your journey starts.
Great.
Observe, execute in the form of a retro, which will give you uh, an opportunity to connect with the data, right? You would have made certain assumptions. Make it clear through that retro, because you are hearing from horse mouth, right? Get that, and then connect the data, bring all this thing into a page, talk about it. Okay, these are my observations. This is what the data is telling to us.
Right.
How can we work together?
Right.
Remember, always say, how can we work together, or what problem I can solve for you, because I'm in this with you, right?
Absolutely.
That's the narration. It's
Right.
not that, okay, I'm the coach, or whatever, or x coach, okay? No,
Hmm.
I'm the coach, but I'm one of your
Team
enabler
member.
to
Yes.
ensure your
Hmm.
success is
Hmm.
my specific goal. Okay, so that should be the way.
That should be
I'm with you. I'm with you. Let's work it out. Let's
right.
let's grow together. Right. So
Great.
yeah.
Amazing. Great discussion, Jairam. It was pleasure talking to you. And uh, to my audience, if you really enjoyed this discussion, please subscribe to my channel, like the video, add a comment. And once again, I would like to say thanks, Jairam, for being such a wonderful speaker. We'll keep talking again and see you soon. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Nagesh. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Bye.